very, very efficiently. So yeah, this is a tournament game, guys. What I would say is you can play this game mode during the week and during the weekend. This particular game is just one organized game, so the numbers tick down and we're about to go. And just so I remember correctly for the VOD on YouTube, if anybody tunes in from YouTube, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the subscriptions, for all the likes, for all the comments. It helps massively grow the channel, and the algorithm is pumping the content out to people that don't normally watch Factorio. So the Biter Battles little niche that we have here is reaching people that don't know about it, which in turn means that more and more people are learning about Biter Battles, and some of them are even coming to join us when we play. So yeah, thank you YouTube people, I really appreciate it, and Twitch people that are here with me now, you're always welcome. I always love having people join us for the wild ride that is Biter Battles. So the game's begun. Both sides are going to need to make the most of, as fast as they can, these opening smelting patches, and make sure that you can throw these into some kind of production chain so that we can build up our base as fast as possible. At the beginning of the game, we don't have access to any automation at all, and obviously Factorio is an automation game, so the faster both of these teams can get their smelting up and running, their power up and running, they need to have some defensive element to their game, so they need to go and fight the bugs as well. And we should see a couple of satellite outposts. Here we go, on the south already, we've got a couple of players making their way away from main base. Now, one thing I would say, guys, is bear with me on this one. You might not have seen this before, but I have managed to incorporate oh no, not this, one second, sorry, I'm clicking on the wrong buttons. I've managed to incorporate MS Paint into my stream. There's not many things that make me different, but this I believe is one of them. And so, you know, when we look at the game and when we look at Factorio as a whole, let's just zoom in on the south for now. This opening area here, I would argue is, can I tap into this? Am I doing this right? Sorry, it's been a while. So this opening area here is our main base. Everything inside of this box needs to be used to protect the central core of our base. Basically, if the rocket silo in the middle of our base gets killed, then we're dead and buried. There is no coming back from that. The moment you lose your rocket silo, the game is over. So all of this stuff in the middle of the pitch, in the middle of our base, so the copper, the coal, the iron and the stone, all of this needs to be grabbed, and it's funneled into a smelting column, which I guess will go either to the left or to the right of main base, and that will produce all the items we need, like flamer turrets, like gun turrets maybe, laser turrets, you know, walls. We just need to build a big castle to help protect our research. Outside of that, we'll see people running to the left and to the right of the map, and as I say that, I'll just quickly zoom out and show you where people are going. So let's just get back onto the old drawing tools real quick. Yeah, I'm a bit rusty on this, but bear with. So there are some areas outside in the map that are conducive to another base location. I'm just putting a few squares down now, but it doesn't have to be in these areas. I'm just saying that, you know, there are spots on the map where you can build a secondary base or a third base that provides a certain function. Sometimes that is expanding on your power infrastructure, so you could build a nuclear power block. Sometimes it's also about building later game science. For instance, rockets, yellow signs, purple signs. So there are lots of different ways you can go about playing the game. You don't necessarily need to be stuck in the main base and be building main. You could be in an outpost, and you could also be, my favorite kind of gameplay, right here fighting the bugs. And at the moment, what we will see, and what we'll see throughout this game, is a set of individuals with a very particular set of skills fighting the bugs and stopping the bugs from fighting them. And honestly, that's what makes this game mode the most fun to me. So the map is always different, that's number one, so you're never going to play the same game twice. There's never the same mix of ores and lakes, and this always changes every map. The team that you have around you will always be different, meaning that everybody that has a different role and different play style adds to a different way that you play the game and the way that you win. And then beyond that, the win condition is different every time. Blueprints as well, great question. Blueprints are not allowed unless you build them in the game. So what we have here, and what we normally have as well in the game, are very talented Factorio players that very quickly can outline, you know, and again, this is super basic. You could do this, anybody can do this, you know, but later on what we will see is very, very specifically particular blueprints that are created, that will create our, sorry, my brain's just completely gone blank there. we will have certain functionality built into the blueprints, and they need to be crafted in-game. Sorry, my brain just literally drew a blank. I need to have a coffee. It's where I'm at with it. So, at the beginning of the game, people are building up main. We've got a little bit of research starting us off, and with that said, I'll just quickly check in on our research box. At the moment, obviously, we don't have access to a lot of things. So, the north are going for electric mining, and military 1, you need this stuff. This is just basic research, and meanwhile, the south are going for, yeah, all the basic standard issue research. In this game mode, it's a race, and it's a race to survive as long as you can, so you don't have to research everything. Some of these researches are not worth it and waste your time, and some of them are needed in order to keep you alive. So, you know, later on in the game, we're going to need to upgrade our laser shooting speed, for instance, or our gun shooting speed in order for us to defend. Because again, as you build up your base, it will eventually get torn down if you don't defend it well enough. So let's take a look at... Let's go from east to west. So over in the east, we have Menander, who seems to be making the most of this little area here. And again, quite a nice little spot. We've got some copper and some iron, a nice big stone patch, and lots of coal. Potentially Menander could have himself a power outpost here, or maybe even a late game laser outpost. You could definitely make lasers out here for sure. There's more than enough stuff out to the east. Neuro as well, by the way. For anybody that doesn't know, Neuro is the server owner. He's the person that basically runs By to Battle. So if you ever see him in the Discord or you see him in game, say hi. You know, we are all here off the back of this one individual. And lots of people helping in the background as well. But this is Neuro's kind of, it's his brainchild, it's his baby. So we're here for him, and we're happy for him having put the effort in and stayed with it through thick and thin. We love By to Battles because of Neuro. Yeah, so off to the east, we also have another... Okay, I guess a basic oil blueprint being slapped down, so are they aiming to grab this oil over this oil? This just seems horrendously, like, dense, like there's so much oil in this area. You'd be kind of stupid not to make the most of this, right? But I guess, yeah, we have a small grouping of players out here making another base. So we have Teo Marks, Cobra, Sticklord, Coffee Owl, and Jason Gross, all OGs, all legendary players in their own right. Creating a small outpost over here. Meanwhile, up north, we have Toddy and Enkling just kind of making the most of this mix patch, just getting some basic items down. The way that the game goes, typically speaking, the first 15-20 minutes are kind of slow. It's like getting a massive aeroplane off the ground, right? We're on the runway, we're firing up the engines, but there's not a lot of movement right now. What we are seeing, though, is the north are carving out where they think their smelting lines need to go, and as you can see here, copper, C for copper, I for iron, and I'm sure there'll be a steel smelter. In fact, this will be the steel smelter down the line, and I'm sure this small smelting stack will be stone as well. So what you need to do in main, if you're in this main base area, is try and help fill in this blueprint by grabbing plates out of the furnaces that are being kind of hand-fed with coal, and just make the relevant belts, inserters, and stone furnaces required to get this up and running and get this moving. And just as I say that, guys, I'm going to change the music. Does anybody have a musical style that they want to listen to whilst we do this opening part of the game? I'm more than happy to take recommendations, so just let me know. So have a think. I'm also going to put the prediction up now. I'd like to get a prediction down early, and that way we can kind of settle into the game, spend the next 30 minutes or 40 minutes looking at who we think will win, and you can kind of bet your channel points kind of accordingly. So perfect. Oh, also, Oile TV, Sofas Vend. Thank you for the follows off stream. I had 2 people. Oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, you followed about a couple hours ago, and I was offline then. So yeah, massive thank you for the follows offline, guys. Sorry, I'll make sure I shout everybody out. So yeah, if you have a certain style of music you want to listen to, I'm more than happy to to give it a go. Decline. Hey, thank you for the follow, mate. I appreciate it. And welcome in. I will do my best to explain everything that's going on. So that's my main goal here, as I am a player of this game myself. I am one of the most successful captains in the game. So I'll try my best to slowly explain, as best I can, the different elements to the game as they go. I can, as a spectator, I can see the tech research, and also we have a cool screen here, which will tell us like where the team goes with their science, like how much they make, and how much they and how fast they manage to reach their signs. So this panel is very important, but at the moment it's very empty. So when you win, this panel will tell a story of how the game went, and I'll be able to tell you about this as we go on. So I'll be able to tell a story through the statistics that we get from this game. For any of you that really like your nerdy stats, and I know some of you do, there is a website online that hosts all of our stats, including our MMR, which is our ELO effectively. So if you want to check out players, have a look at the game itself. I'll just show you real quick, just so you guys know this isn't like some malicious link. This is the link I've just posted into Discord, and what we have is a breakdown of all of our players. For instance, let me just click on Blitzy. Here we have their win and loss rate. That's okay for a new player, you know. Blitzy's rank 108 with 33 wins and 29 losses. You know, we can see who they play well with, who plays well against them, you know, how fast they do their sciences, what they do in the game, their recent match. All of their current stats are broken down on that website, and you can kind of get a reading as to like who does what and who the strong players are. So yeah, I'm kidding. But yeah, so the reason why we pick teams is because we have a readout of what players do. So we know who like the top 10 players are in the server. We know who like the best main base builders are off those stats. And we know who the good counter picks are. So, you know, Carl is a pick for North. And I guess his counterpart on the South would be like a Jimmy 50 type. Now, I don't know if Jimmy 50 is playing in main. In fact, I don't know where Jimmy 50 is right now. But yeah. Oh, sorry, again, I got another alert. My bad, sorry. It's still waiting for the coffee to kick in, so bear with me, guys. But yeah, it seems to me like both sides are starting to carve out a little areas of the map that they think will be relevant to them. Go, right, that'll do for now. Okay, so smelting out to the east. Power block on the south. I like this. Very large power block, and we have enough coal that we can siphon off of these two patches in order to fund these power blocks. Now, because the game moves at such a speed that the base really takes off and grows in a really quick pace, the rate at which power needs to be built needs to be massive. So we don't do small bases in biter battles. We are going to see some absolutely enormous builds happen, and very, very quickly as well. So, you know, the reason why I can kind of take my time explaining the early game is that when I won't have time in the end game, so I kind of slowly kind of explain the beginning of the game. Later on, I'm going to kind of be fumbling and stumbling over all the different things that are happening in front of us because it really does start to take off. Let's go here for music. Let's go and stick this on. And you know what, we'll call it there for now. Disco. It's Sunday. I don't want to put on anything too hyperactive. I think disco is the right vibe right now for us. So at the end of these smelting lines, with some being copper and some being iron, we need to start creating the basic science that we need in order to research down the tech tree. And beyond that too, we need to start like hammering out where we want our base to be, how many labs we need, how much research we need to be doing. So obviously Carl right now is creating the basic chip structure, so we get our, you know, very basic ores thrown down into our smelting stacks. The smelting stacks now smelt them into kind of refined plates, iron plates and copper plates, and then we push them into assembly machines that will create medium kind of tier items that we can then create other items with, such as our inserters, our belts, and other assembly machines, as well as many other things. So yeah, you'll love to see it. And with that, let me finish off my coffee, and hopefully my brain may kick into gear. But yeah, so you've got about half an hour on the prediction, guys. Blitzy has made a lot of money, a lot of channel points off of betting, sometimes correctly, although you did have a big loss, I believe. I think there was one game where you bet a lot of your channel points and it didn't come through. So maybe you're trying to claw back the thousands of pot noodles that you may have lost in a previous betting experience, but music too loud? Got you. Alright, I've turned it down just a little bit, but I'm more than happy to keep messing around with the levels. It's weird, every time you play a new playlist, it seems to be either like too loud or too quiet, so I'm collecting all the band, imagine, ban the dictionary. Now there's a challenge. I have to do an entire stream through telepathy. It can be done. It can be done. So yeah, I like what we're seeing from both sides. I also enjoy the fact that both teams are building out to the east. The west seems to be like, you know, you need to kind of save this space. It's kind of blank and there's not a lot of ore patches here. So when we're talking about defending our base, if the bases don't become too bloated and overwhelming, that we are looking at a more dense defensive structure. The new meta of playing the game at the moment is not to go kind of overly defend your base. It's to put down minimal amounts of defenses and then just react to certain pockets of aggression that come from the bugs. Both sides are threat farming, the south probably a little bit more aggressively at the moment. Yeah, it's Coffee Owl down here with Cobra and Sticklord. And again, yeah, we're starting to see a defensive outpost take shape. Meanwhile up north, Alpha Geometry, another strong threat farmer for the north. And Clutch as well, okay. So kind of a very, I hate to be boring with it, but like a very standard issue start to the game. I like how many different outposts we have. So how many we've got on? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 outposts, sorry, on the south. With 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the north. Am I correct in that? 1, 2. Yeah, 7 on. So okay, 7 on the north, 6 on the south. So they're really dividing their team up. Typically, you kind of have like a third of your player base here. A few players up here doing threat farming. I like to have more than less, but you know, 2 to 3 is more than enough. And then kind of dotted around bases. Now, what I like here is that there are individuals with their own outposts. A lot of the time, outposts are kind of groups of players. So I like the idea that we've got like Enkling on one, Neuro on another, Menander on another. I wonder what each individual kind of task that they have been given is like. Again, if you do play these games, guys, we have a Discord server, which I'm more than happy to put the link into chat for. In fact, let me do that now, because I'd be a bad streamer if I didn't. And inside the Discord channel itself, we have like voice channels, so everybody's going to be kind of talking to their captain, discussing what they need to do to win the game, what they can kind of offer as a player. So yeah, each of these guys, each of these players, they're not acting randomly, they're not acting without purpose. They've been asked by their captain, I need you to fulfill this role, I need you to perform this function for me. And so yeah, like maybe Enkling has just been told, look mate, I need you to make the most of these iron patches and create this item for me. Or, you know, Neuro, you're right by, you know, a really nice iron and copper patch. Grab this and you're going to be making our nuclear build, maybe. We'll see it take shape over time, but we're on piece of cake difficulty, so I think we're on for about 2-hour game. I would argue if we go beyond the 2-hour mark, we're either playing a long form game, or both sides are too scared to pull the trigger. I'm not saying that as a tempt, you know, to tempt fate, but you know, if you go beyond the 2-hour mark on a piece of cake game, you are basically kind of worried or nervous that the opposition might be able to kind of counter what you're doing. So you just keep pushing into the darkness, into the unknown, waiting for something to happen. I don't hate this too much. Here we go, yeah. Main is beginning to build up now. Now we're starting to pick up some speed. With the creation of these interim items now, the base should start to really take shape and form up. So this initial kind of slow caveman-esque style that we have at the beginning of the game starts to kind of fade out as we begin to automate ourselves, and hopefully from that, power will really build up. We shouldn't be bumping into any power problems at the beginning of the game. However, at the end of the game, we almost certainly will have power problems, so it's something that you must start and you must continue on all the way through the game. Zero Sun. Interesting. Just with a okay. I don't hate this at all. So, and perfect, this leads me on perfectly to how you win the game. Each side have a section or a segment of the map. In the north it's to the north, and on the south it is to the south, and those portions of the map have bugs in them. These guys at the moment are very weak, and they're not really that aggressive. You know, you can come up here with a pistol and you can shoot these guys dead pretty easy. In fact, you can see around the area that the players have been fighting the bugs. There are lots of dead bug bodies, no dead player bodies. As the game goes on, the bugs evolve. You know, the clue is in the title, Biter Battles. You're playing against an enemy team that are buffing up the enemy bugs. So your side bugs eventually will get bigger and stronger, and hopefully too big for the enemy to handle, therefore leading for their base to get crushed. At the moment, it's a weird thing to do this early on, but Zero Sun has sent some basic science, automation being level 1. So obviously, like red is level 1, our green jugs are level 2, military level 3, chemical level 4, production level 5, utility level 6, and if we get rockets and we get to space science, we end up with the strongest science to send. Effectively, the higher up the chain you go, the stronger each send becomes. So, you know, a green send is like a 1 times value, but like a space science send, a single jug of space science, 486 times mutagen. So, what that means in real time is this. If I was to send a single jug of space science right now in the game, that would throw the evolution up by 5%. The bugs grow in strength, they grow in number, and they grow in speed, and they go from 2% right now on the north to 5.6%. Now, we're never going to just have 1 jug, are we? So let's take that to 1,000. If we send one rocket to space, we end up with 1,000 space science. If I was to send 1,000 space science right now into the game, the bugs will go from 2% to 91% evolved, and they basically become impossible to kill at this point, and they would just destroy the map for the north. If the north didn't have defenses up, they would get ruined. The whole map would set on fire. So yeah, so what's happening right now is Zero Sun is creating a very basic level of science, the most basic. They are automating and slightly hand-feeding this, and they are just slowly but surely cranking up the strength of the South's bugs. You know, 2% is a pretty easy bug to kill. 5% is pretty easy too, but at like 20%, or maybe even like 30% at the early part of the game when you don't have access to, like, you know, good armor, you don't have heavy armor yet, or maybe you don't have like good upgrades for your submachine gun, those bugs might become a little bit too hard to kill, and eventually they might run you down and kill you off. So what I like here from Zero Sun is they are making an aggressive play on the south by pushing by evolving the bugs, by sending science, making the South's life harder to deal with. Now, what we see at the moment is both teams are farming the bugs. And if you farm the bugs by going into their area and shooting them, you drive their number down. If they end up with a negative number, like we see on the South for instance, and we can see all the dead bodies of the bugs here, they need to spawn and repopulate their numbers into a positive number, and if they can do that passively in their own area, the bugs in that particular space will become aggressive and will flood down the map. So what does that mean in real terms? Well, I'll show you right now. When the bugs are positive, later in the game we will definitely see this, by the way, they are going to come down the map and they are going to fight and bite everything they see, eventually coalescing into our central point, which is in the middle of the map, where we have our rocket silo, which they will kill and blow up, and one team will lose. This can happen on both the north and the south side, but I'm just focusing on the south for now, just to keep things simple. The way that we stop this from happening is that instead of the bugs coming down to us, we come to the bugs. We fight and kill them off, and we keep their numbers in the negative, forcing them to become passive. The instant that the bugs become active again, so that when they spawn more than this negative number in this top left hand corner, they will start to flood the map and fight us and kill ourselves off. So effectively we are stopping any aggression from happening and coming onto our side, but the enemy team will constantly make the bugs harder and harder to deal with, meaning that we are absolutely on the clock here. This is certainly going to go the way of the dinosaur as the game goes on, and eventually these bugs will evolve. At the moment, as you can see, they're these little brown bugs with little brown shells. They're very small, they're very weak and very easy to kill. A shotgun kills 4 or 5 at a time. In about 10-20 minutes time, we could see them evolve into medium-sized bugs, which have pink shells and they're harder to kill. From pink shell bugs up to 50% evolution, we'll turn them into big bugs with blue shells. And when we hit 90% evolution, which we always manage to hit, they'll turn into green shell bugs, which are behemoths, which are far too difficult to kill. So for now, Coffee Owl is safe. The bugs are at 8.2% for the south, only 4% on the north, so like there is already some discrepancies between the different strength of the bugs. However, I don't think that this playstyle will go unpunished. That said, threat farming at the moment isn't something that we really need to talk a lot about, so what I'd rather do is focusing on the science element of the game and the base element of the game as well. So I'll finish off my coffee, it's gone cold now. I don't know if I like cold coffee, I'm going to be honest. I think warm coffee has always been a favourite of mine. And I don't know, like if you're out there drinking iced coffee, Jesus, I don't know what you're about, but no shade, but I've never understood iced coffee. Anyway, here in main base, with the automation that we've managed to secure from setting up our initial smelting lines and powering them with the power block we've created, we have the first 2 levels of science going into our labs. From that, we're able to research things. At the moment, the queue is dead, but we are able to research things that will allow us access to new and future technologies which give us more scope to build our base out. At the beginning, we have red and green signs. Red signs just needs copper plates and gear wheels. Iron gear wheels are created in a separate building over here. And to create green signs, we just need yellow inserters and yellow belts. Throw them into an assembly machine, throw them onto a belt, and we have the beginning of what we call the early game in bite battles. The early game is just the first 2 levels of science. You typically know a team has moved into the mid game once they manage to kind of coerce their build into creating military signs and then blue signs as well. And we can see now on the south a change of pace. This is the main base for the south. They want to have red being created here and green signs here, but if we flip over to the other side of the map, the north are already there. And so when we talk about being in a race and we talk about having a lead and having a bit of an advantage, if you could pick to be on a team right now, in terms of who's ahead, I would go for the north. The north are miles ahead. They have their labs down, they have their research already happening, so they're creating research that are going into the labs. And meanwhile, if I'm on the south, we're kind of a little bit behind here. Not massively so, but we're a little bit behind here in terms of having large labs, doing large amounts of research. And again, because we do things on a large scale, those researches, which normally take a couple of minutes, will happen in a couple of seconds. And when I say that the base gets big, like it gets big quick because of that. So already the south are dealing with 9% bugs. I mean, I don't know what Zero Sun's plan is here, because this isn't... It's not a terrible play, but it's certainly a play of some description. Hello, little cat. You alright, buddy? You've been asleep all day. Sorry, my cat's just woken up. You alright, mate? You're boiling hot, mate. Are you good? There's water downstairs for you, mate, so you're all good in that respect. Apologies. You may hear a cat come up to me and yowl quite aggressively. He is being fed, and he does have water. I think he's just upset that my dog sleeps in his favourite sleepy spot. So apologies if you hear quite an aggressive yowl at me later. He's fine. He's very old. He's 14 years old now, so he's quite a grumpy cat, even when everything is going his way. Yeah, so the north have their smelting going on. They have their research kicking in. The south aren't far behind. They are getting this up and running now too, but as you can see, it's just turning on. It's just starting up. And I was going to quickly take a look at what the south have. Yeah, the north have some exclusive researches to them. So not only have they managed to get their research up and running, they're ahead a little bit. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 researches that the north have that the south have yet to do as well. So the south are, number 1, being pushed into a positive number, and their evolution is going up as well. They are somewhat behind in their research. Now, this doesn't necessarily indicate that they're losing the game, but it does mean that the north have been so fast that they've managed to take an advantage in this opening, what are we, 25 minutes, 26 minutes of the game. Here we go. Come on, little cat. You definitely have water, mate. Come on. There we go. Right, he's fine. He's fine. I used to have a picture of my cat actually on here. I'll see if I can dig that up at some point. Anyway, back to the game. Afternoon, Clyde? I hope it isn't. I really do hope it's not. Oh my god. Well guys, the North have lost. Its game, we'll see this game play itself out for another hour or two. However, I do believe that the red belt is a loot. No, it's fine. There are a few memes within the community, red belts being one of them. This you love to see. Oh, ooh, Clyde, by the way, are you following the rugby? The rugger, are you managing to keep pace with any of it? I don't say that to poke fun at your respective team, maybe not doing particularly well. However, I have to say that I was quite surprised pleasantly by Italian kind of belligerence, seeing the game out in the rain. I haven't seen rain like that in a while, by the way. Sorry, slight side note, we do every now and again talk about other things other than the game at hand, so I'll try not to talk too much about rugby, but dude, the rain was ridiculous. It was literally biblical during the Scotland game. So before I go on a tangent, because I know I will, let's clockwise. So let's look around the map, starting at 12 o'clock at the top of the map, and we'll just clockwise move around and see what's going on for both sides. So to the north, looking at the very topmost of the map, we have a defensive outpost that seem to be, creating some grenades. Down the line, they'll transition this defensive outpost to create our poison capsules and our slowdown capsules as well. So this base is already looking to shape up really nicely. Moving around the clock, we have Enkling's base, which I'm not entirely sure what this guy is up to. I would say Enkling is currently in like Malaysia, I think, or Singapore. It's like 5 o'clock in the morning for him on a Monday, and he still manages to make these games. And also added to that, guys, Enkling is one of our best captains in the game. He's a non-native English speaker. You'll see him posting memes in Discord. And at the moment, it's like 5 in the morning, and he is just locked in to this game right now. So yeah, you love to see it. Moving around the clock, Manander as well has an outpost over here. I'm not entirely sure what the function of this is just yet, so we'll touch base with it in a second. Although I'm almost 90% sure you cannot put iron ore into a boiler. You can try, and he will, but I don't think it will be successful. Moving around the clock, Nura has a base. It is just basically setting up a mall at the moment, so I'm sure that this will eventually have a function. But at the moment, he's just creating himself some basic items to kind of expand. Moving around, we have power over here for the south. Banana is putting down some enormous oil. Moving further around the clock, we have our defensive outpost, which is looking really chunky at the moment. More smelting going down here. And we're upgrading our furnaces. We've got some grenade buildings. You'll have to see it. The south are almost at 10% bugs. So again, the bugs are still easy to kill, but they're harder than the north. So yeah, I'm not sure if the red sends are worth it, but I guess we're going to see. Main base is building itself out really nicely as well. More smelting's going down. The science is now starting to really flood in. So beforehand we saw a trickle of science. Now it's really starting to pour into their labs. And as you can see here now, they're missing one particular inserter here, but I won't hold it against them. And again, yeah, like as you can see, all the labs that have the ability to put science into the labs are working, and they're working well. As we move around the clock, more power comes out from the south in their main base. We have an outpost of Just Bob and the likes of Quomandos, Muddlebox. Our first death. Ooh, it's on south, and they're chewing. Ooh, okay, so this is why we play the game. You can build a base all you like, and if you can't defend it against the bugs will come and tear your base up. And here we go. It's not terrible that they've lost a few buildings here, but it certainly slows you down. Yeah, sorry guys, my phone's just gone off. Give me a second, I just need to call this person back. I'll be with you in 30 seconds. Okay, well, that was quick. We're getting a pizza in. I will not say no to a pizza. I'm absolutely starving, and I don't mind cooking later, but streaming normally takes me beyond dinner, so... Alright, so where were we? Looking at the outposts around, we stopped here at Straightener. Decent power outpost. You have the ability to build a lot of power out here too. We already see that on the south they got attacked, but they're also building out their oil outpost. And to the furthest west, a player called Not a Smurf, which... Have we figured out who this is yet, by the way? Have we managed to suss out who this particular player is? Because you don't just get into a captain's game in a tournament with the name Not a Smurf and play on your own as an outposter around some of the largest ore patches. It's an interesting one. Welcome in, Green, welcome in. We are in the early phases of a very well populated game. There are 22 on north, 22 players on south. And what I like about this particular game, if I can just point to one thing, is that in a game mode where sending early doesn't normally do a huge amount other than just annoy your opposition, we have Zero Sun, the best threat farmer in the game, initially threw a load of red signs. In fact, let me see how much red signs was thrown in total. He threw 600 red signs and is now beginning with 10s and 12s and 15s and 20s throwing military signs. So I feel like Zero Sun has like the gas stove, and they're just slowly turning the power up. But it's like a few degrees at a time, you know. They're not turning the map into a volcano of heat. They're just slowly cranking up the heat. And as you can see here, the South are dealing with 15% bugs. At 15 and obviously positive, their base can get attacked, but also the bugs become stronger and harder to kill. Now 15 isn't too bad. 25 is a problem. 35, big problem. So for now, they're doing a good job, Coffee Owl and the Cobra, but they have their work out for them. The North seem to want to put the aggression onto the South early, rather than waiting until we get to blue signs and then, you know, start working out some aggressive plays there. They've just looked at the South and gone, I think that they are expanding, and they're a bit, I'm going to be honest, they're a little bit slow in their research. Their labs were, here we go. So there are a few technologies behind, and I don't hate their build. It's certainly strong, but I like the idea of pushing the pressure early. As a captain myself, I always advocated for one player on the map, at least one, to have a play like this. It doesn't need to be this particular play. Green used to be the way that you'd spam. You'd put a load of green on the pitch. Then from there, sorry, the dog's barking. I'm just gonna, if they start barking a lot, I'm just gonna mute the mic whilst they do it, because you don't want to hear that. But yeah, threat farming going on in the North. They're much more successful at it because the bugs are easier to kill. At 7%. The South haven't been attacked massively. They lost a couple of buildings down here, but it's not been too bad. It's not been too bad at all. Morning, RJD. Welcome in. Welcome in. Yeah, an interesting game. I think the best thing I can point to at this early phase is that we have spam. Well, we don't have spam right now because it's not connected, but Zero Sun, playing on a piece of cake game, decided that red spam, and then, you know, transitioning from red spam into military spam was the right play. I'm not saying it's wrong, I'm just saying we don't see it that often. Normally, typically, it doesn't have a lot of playthrough. But that being said, you know, the South are dealing with 15% bugs right now. So yeah, so what we're kind of dealing with here at the moment is the South are pressurized a little bit, and the North appear to be. What are we doing here? Why are we doing this? Sorry, I just noticed these two weird nipples in the bottom of South. Like, we don't. You really. This is not needed, guys. That is true. That is true. It does slow down the ability to threat farm, and it creates a bit of pressure on them, which they weren't expecting. And I like this. We're in a tournament, you know. You want to win the tournament as the best captain in the tournament. You need to come up with some counter strategies, so I like this. Well, the plan is to order a pizza, and that's not my decision. That's an executive decision made by the missus that I am fully on board with. I'm going to be honest. Firstly, it has been a long time since I've had a pizza, and I look forward to it. Wasabi is where did he get that green from? The red, sorry. Okay, big send from Wasabi out of the blue. Absolutely not. I don't mind pineapple, and I don't mind pizza, but combined, heresy. Absolute heresy. This player worries me a little bit. Do we know have we seen Wasabi before? So the way that we play these more organized games is that we factor in sending, and we give like responsibility to more senior players to send, because it changes the state of the game. The last thing you want to do is have a player make a random rogue play that doesn't benefit you, that can throw your particular strategy out the window. And now sending almost 1,000 red signs isn't going to do a ton, but I just worry about players like this because Wasabi may, and he shouldn't, but may just approach the labs here and grab all this and send it, and you shouldn't do that. It really slows your team down. It's almost like if you're in a car puncturing one of your own tires. You know, if you're in a race, you need all the tires full of air. There's no way you can win if you set yourself back like that. So yeah, we need to keep an eye on that. I've never seen that player before, and I worry that they might slightly sabotage. Or not, I might be wrong. But yeah, this isn't an optimal play. That being said, you can play how you like, but I'm just saying that at the end of a tournament, if there's a player that seems to be griefing or maybe not being playing as optimally as they can, it'd be better for them to sit on the sideline, watch and learn, than be in the middle of things and maybe potentially just be a thorn in their own team's side. But I'm not going to talk openly or too openly about that until we see it happen, if it does happen. The South are at 17.9%, North at 13%. They're slightly closing the gap. I mean, the send maybe worked, but I just think it's slightly ineffective. Like, we're taking resources we could use to build the base, and we're sending them away. Now, bear in mind, if you're outside of main base, like here, for instance, you can do whatever you want with resources you choose to get, because again, they're your resources. But if you're taking main base stuff, you know, if you're taking main base iron, main base coal, main base copper, like, and you're just building red jugs with it, it's not worth it, man. Take all those precious resources and funnel them into expanding your lines, expanding your production. You know, this will be 3 red chip builders, which you absolutely need. So go down and help your team with this. You know, the sooner you get this built, the faster you get onto that next level, So yeah, we see some blue being created now, and you love to see it. Maybe let's take a look at the production stats real quick. So interesting. The North built their first jug at 37 minutes in, and the South at 40, so only a 3-minute discrepancy there, which is pretty solid. You know, I'm not saying they've caught back up again, but there was a point in the game where the North looked like they were actually no, they're flying, aren't they? Yeah, they're flying. Damn. The South are marginally behind here in terms of development. Yeah, oh damn, I didn't even factor it in, because it's weird, because this mix patch is kind of, when you zoom out, you don't really see the full extent of the production here, but when you zoom in, they have their blue up and running, and they have a red chip producer, and they have some prod 1s being made as well. So we're moving into our mid-game territory, so yeah, all we need is a bit of military science, and I'll check in on the science now to see where they're up to. We're going for flammables, which is great. You do need flammables, generally speaking, and they just finished off researching that. South going for mining 1, flammables themselves, and then onto their modules. On the North, exclusive to them, this is what they've managed to research alone, is those modules we spoke about earlier on: gun turrets, flammables, and cars. And I'll just make their life slightly easier when it comes to threat farming. So yeah, let's give some praise to the South. I don't want to be negative. Let's give some praise to the South. I do like their threat farming outpost. It's big, it's chunky, and if they are going to be pushed, and again, they're 21% now, so the bugs have evolved. Here we go. So again, we spoke earlier on about the bugs being small at the beginning. Their next evolutionary state are these pink-shelled guys, and as you can see just there, oh Christ, I didn't want that to happen. As you can see, that pink bug, and I'll try and catch that happening again, that pink bug took more than a grenade to kill. So here we go, these are the medium-sized bugs, and as you can see, a gun on them doesn't kill them instantly. In fact, it takes a couple of seconds for a gun to kill them. And when there's a few mediums on you, it becomes so much harder to survive. So purely just from a couple of sends from the North to the South, a few of the bugs have gotten a bit bigger, as you can see. And they are so much faster, and they hit a little harder. Now, this is evolutionary state number 2. And there you go. Look at that. That guy is not having a good time. You know, you're spending a lot of ammo killing off one guy, one bug. And later on, there'll be more mediums than there will be. You're correct. Zero Sun is a legend. I'm not going to lie, Zero Sun is a very strong player. I believe... Now, I might be wrong here, but I believe that he learnt from me the defensive meta. When I was at my peak, when I was at my absolute height of my power as the most effective captain, the most winning captain, and arguably the best player on the server. I'm also very humble as well, by the way, guys. I'm a legend, and I'm legendarily skilled, but I'm also massively humble as well. Zero Sun had just joined our server, so I believe that he probably saw me and what I was doing, and kind of adapted and copied off the back of that. which is fine, you know. I've always said this, guys, I don't keep secrets. I have a few ideas and a few meta builds I like to kind of play around, but like if you ever need to see something in the game, or if you want me to show you something, just hit me up, message me in Discord. If you see me in the server, say, hey man, can you show me how to outpost? Can you show me how to threat farm? Trust me, my ELO, my MMR, I don't care about anymore. I hit number 1, I was the best player for a long time. I don't need to stay there. It's somebody else's turn now, so I don't mind losing games, but by helping newer players, we bring more people in, so yeah, just a quick PSA out there, guys. If you ever want to play bite battles and you don't know who to play with and you want to play with somebody, message me. Trust me, I'll jump in. If I have the time, even for half an hour or an hour, like we'll jump in and play. Also, if you're a little rusty and you like to play Factorio but you just want to play with other people, I also have a run where we play with members of our community, as well as just anybody who wants to play Factorio. So if you want to test something out, we have a mega base that we're building at the moment, and anybody and everybody is welcome to join. I mean that. You can have 1,000 hours, 10,000 hours, or even just 1. You know, just if you like Factorio and you want to build something cool, then you can jump into our world and do it. Like, I won't hold it against you if it all goes wrong. You started a Death World Marathon for a bit. Wasn't the change of marathon more expensive recipes? It has been a while. I haven't done Death World in a long time. And Death World Marathon, actually, Jesus. I'll need to check in with you, Greens. I don't have an answer for you right now, unless somebody in chat knows if things have changed. But bear with me, I'm sure that somebody will be able to answer that question. Death World is something that I played like at the beginning when I first started playing Factorio, and then I moved on to Pianodons, and holy shit, dude. Just by the way, because I know that a lot of people in the chat right now are Factorio players. Have you guys played Pianodons at all? Or Pi? I think it's called PY. Is the shorthand version of that elusive and illustrious DLC or mod. It is horrific, and I love it. It's so hard, dude. It's so hard. The first thing I ever played at Factorio was Pi, and then I was like, this is a bit much, but it's a bit. You're playing it right now. Oh hell yeah! 66 hours in, so you've just got your first stone furnace. So, yeah, you've got one. I'm guessing you have a stone furnace and a single inserter. It's so hard, mate. It is so tough. The one thing I would really want to do, I'd love to do this. Yeah, no, it really is. It's for people that enjoy the pain of a challenge. You know, Pianodons is Dark Souls for Factorio. It's Elden Ring for Factorio. You know, it's like you will suffer, you will achieve things, and you will feel bullied, all in one motion. You know, it's horrible. I really want to do a community Pianodons run. I might set one up at. Oh, guys, how it's Type 2 fun. An MMP Pi session. Oh my god. So I'm free during the summer. I'm currently saving for a wedding at the moment. The wedding will be quite expensive. We're not going all out, but it's for us and how much we earn. We need to save a bit of money so that we can afford the things that we want to do for the wedding. So this year we're not going on holiday. We're saving as much money as possible, and I've said to my fiance that then the way that I do that is that I'd like to stream. She works nights anyway, so she's not in, which is why we're getting a pizza tonight. It's just easier for everyone. So this summer I might host a Pianodons stream and just see how far we get. Every day stream for a couple hours and just see how far we get before we all lose our mind. You know, the insane summer Pianodons run. Yeah, you know, I like the idea of that. And you know, it's such a challenge. It's so hard. Like, we're doing a mega base at the moment. That'll be done in a couple months' time. You know, in terms of like when it's huge and we've done everything we want to do. Space Age, we need to continue. I've definitely done Space Age. C Block, that's an interesting one. I've done the underground one, the diggy one. C Block I've not done yet. So I think maybe this summer we do some challenges. So that because I can't go to the pub, because obviously I'm saving money. I can have a beer, but it needs to be indoors. Teo, ooh, we don't want to lose any of this. That's kind of deep as well. We don't want to lose any of this. Where is the mega run? So the mega base run is. Oh, I thought he killed himself there for a second. In game, of course, in game. Yeah, the mega base run is going to be held during the week, and I think once we do the mega base run, we'll just see what we want to do next. I think C Block's a really interesting one. Space Age for sure, Pianodons. There's also Industrial Revolution. Oh god, guys, there's so much good stuff here. And I would say this to all of you, you're all welcome. You're all welcome to join me. Not just can watch on stream, but like if you want to play, please jump in. The only thing I'll do is I'll put a password on the server so that we get the people that we want to play with. It's open to everyone. If you're a random and you want to play, then that's cool. But I just don't want somebody joining randomly and just messing up the base for us, you know. I would try Krastorio 100%. The same as Bobs and Angels, right? I don't know if that translated well across to 2.0, but I'd do Bobs and Angels in a heartbeat. Not Then Pay, SpaceX is more my level. Warptorio is interesting. Yeah, I swear, is Anti-Patience doing Warptorio? I think I saw Anti-Patience doing a version of... Oh, guys, honestly, I might need to set up a Discord server of my own. Not like, oh, this is Ghosty server, but like just basically like, all right, this month we're going to do this. Or these days we're playing Pi, these days we're going to do... You know what I mean? Like, just so I can be a bit more organized. Maybe that's the way to go. Although, do you know, I'm part of too many Discords at the moment as it is. So I don't want to kind of overload people with Discords, but I might set one up and just say, look, if you want to play some challenge runs, or I might do it through the Biter Battles one and just say, hey, if any of you want to do this, jump into Biter Battles, find our channel of like the challenge channel, and we'll just do it through there. So yeah, bear with me on that, and I'll figure out what we want to do. But I like the idea this summer, or maybe like Easter summer, we'll just find another version. I love vanilla, and vanilla has been great fun, getting to learn, or like shaking off the rust and learning the basics again. But I really, really do want to go back into, and it's been about 3 or 4 years since I've done Pi. Krastorio, probably about the same, 3 or 4 years. C-Block, never done it. You know, even the underground one, the Diggy Diggy one, like you can do it in about 4 or 5 play sessions. And if there's like 4 or 5 of us, you can do it easily. So yeah, I think that's where we go with this. This summer, not this summer, sorry, in the not too distant future. And I'll get back to the game, guys. Sorry for anybody watching that wants me to talk about the game, I will. But there's so many good things ahead of us, and I look forward to all of them. And in the meantime, I'll be saving money for the wedding. So I'm not going to be spending money on a big, huge holiday. And beyond that too, not going down the pub. It's all beneficial, guys. It's all beneficial. So, damn, the South are getting some pain inflicted upon them. They're struggling to keep the bugs into a negative. And again, they don't have the research relevant or prerequisite research to keep the bugs away in terms of their shooting speed, their shooting strength. They haven't got their capsules researched either. So, you know, if I'm on the South, do I call for a divergence? Oh no, they have. They've got their... Okay, so they just need to make the capsules. Did my wedding invitation get lost in the mail? We haven't even started the invites, dude. Holy. At the moment, we're booking things. So we have the venue. We have a band booked. We have like close family and those, you know, like mum, dads, granddads, grandmas, people that need a lot of time to organise. We've given them out. My missus, she doesn't want a lot of people at the wedding, which is, I get it. Like, I actually don't want a big wedding, if that makes sense. Now, it's up to her. Whatever she wants to do, we'll make it happen. But I think we're keeping it super small, not to keep the cost down, although it would be nice to keep the cost down. It's more about just enjoying it with the people we want, rather than feeling obligated to invite, you know, I've got a friend at work that, you know, she'd love to be there. It's like, nah, I don't... Am I an asshole for saying this? It should just... I want to keep it, like... I just want to keep it to the people that in 20 years' time, I'm still going to be in touch with. Do you know what I mean? Especially my fiancé. Yeah, but I don't want it to be the kind of thing where we invite people that I'm not going to talk to in 4 or 5 years' time. It's a very special day. I only want to do it once. I hope and plan on only ever doing it once. So, like... I don't want to have a load of random people in pictures and photos, and like we can have a reception after the day. So when I talk about wedding, I mean actually the ceremony itself. We can have a reception afterwards where we have a big party and everyone can come. But I just on the day, the kind of more ceremonial parts of it, I feel like that will be just for a small group of people. Do you know what, Clyde? I could put an incentive down, but you know, do you know what's interesting is the very small money. So I made a couple of quid, and again I talk very small amounts off Twitch and YouTube. I made a couple of quid last month from streaming and doing the tournaments. And it did manage to buy a bouquet of flowers and some chocolates, which we both enjoyed. So I had like a Twitch-funded bouquet of flowers on the windowsill, and a Twitch-funded box of chocolates that we enjoyed during movie night. So if anything, guys, just by being here and watching, you are kind of helping fund the wedding in small ways, you know. I think if I was to add it all up, it would genuinely make a difference. And do you know what? I haven't even thought about it like that. But I might just take... Why am I not even... I should have thought about this. It's not a lot, guys. I need to be very honest with you. A small channel like mine does not generate income, and I don't try to generate income. I'm not asking for subscriptions. You won't see me pumping out the whole follow me, like me, subscribe to... I'm not going to do that. But any of the money that I do make, for anybody that does subscribe, by the way, and I'm more than welcome anybody that does, but you don't feel like you have to, I'm just going to save the money. I feel like that's the best way to go about this. Oh damn, Clyde, you didn't have to, mate. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that massively. I'm gonna put the money away. I think that's the best way to go about this. I'm gonna put the money away for the wedding, for a rainy day. About time I did. Mate, you know as well as I do. I love just having you guys here, all of you. For anybody watching on YouTube, even if it's in a year's time, like just having someone to share this with, and to experience a really good game of bite battles, but also just have a bit of a mini community to have a laugh with. You know me. I appreciate all the follows and the likes and stuff, but yeah, I'm just happy that even one person is joining me on this. So yeah, I appreciate that, mate. I appreciate it. I said something yesterday and I didn't think about it, but the subscriptions and stuff, it's like a nice bonus to it all. But if I was one of those unaffiliated channels, the non-advert running, no money making, I'd still be doing this. 100% I'd still be doing this. So it's a nice added bonus, but yeah, and just know, Clyde, that money, it's definitely going to go towards something wedding related. And even if it helps buy a bouquet of flowers, or if it helps buy something for the wedding, we'll put it that way towards it. And you never know, mate, I might try and do a vlog. There'll definitely be a wedding video made. Oh damn, 1 second, my dogs are going mental. Give me a sec. I don't know why they're barking, there's nothing going on. I'm going to put a follow request on. I just want to make sure their bowls are full. So let me follow these guys. Let me follow Coffee Owl, because they're doing a hell of a job. And I'm just going to check on my dogs real quick. I'll be back in maybe a minute, maybe two. I just want to make sure they definitely have water. They definitely got food. So yeah, back in a sec, guys. Okay, I am back. Apologies for that. They're fine. They're completely fine. They just bark at the most random stuff sometimes, and every now and again they'll be missing something. Something will be missing from their bowl, or they'll be running out of water. But yeah, and I will be having a beer, 100%, dude. I need to catch up on all my rugby highlights and breakdowns and stuff. Anyway, I can't remember where we were. Something about wedding stuff. Okay, I'll pick back up on that in a second. Let me do a service to everybody that's watching the game that wants to know what's going on. Let's go back round again. Let's go counterclockwise around the map and see. North's defensive outposts are now creating capsules. They'll absolutely need them. They're at 14.4% at the moment threat, but that can increase if the South manage to get themselves together. They're at minus 400 and 500 now threat, which is good. So they're threat farming effectively. And as you can see now, they have a good amount of cars being produced, so they can kind of kite the bugs correctly and threat farm accurately. They just need to kind of, yeah, just keep it up really, keep it going. Maybe push the bugs a bit further back than this. But I like what I see here. Meanwhile, a lot of production is happening out here. I'm not entirely sure what the point of this is. Are we going for a laser outpost? Potentially? We have red chip production. Are we going for a purple spam out here? Are we sure about this? Okay, this I'm not entirely... I don't know what I'm looking at here. Are we blue chips into an LDS maybe? This is an interesting build. This is late game, and I like what I see here, so we'll tap back into that. Down here we have red chips and steel being made, which indicates to me is like an upgrade. So we're going towards either purple signs or some level of like rocket parts. I like what I see here. And a chip producer here from Juanmo and his counterpart in Nizzy. So yeah, I like this. The main base is going to need it, and then let's just keep scanning around. Zero Sun is just doing weird counterplay, I guess. We'll check in on the threat farm, sorry, on the threat in a second. Not Smurf at the moment is currently doing oil cracking, making red chips and building bots. Who is this person? I need to know. By the time we get around to next week's game, I want to crack the code and find out who this person is, because this is somebody I've definitely played against and have played with before. I guarantee it. This is not a new person to the server. Anyway, moving on. We'll leave it at that. Huge power blocks going out for the South as well. Definitely making the most out of these really large coal patches. There's a lot of them about, so that's great to see. As we move around, more oil is being taken up for the South. There are these huge patches, so stitching them into your network is absolutely vital. As I move around the... Yeah, of course, yeah. I could go into the South's... but that would be boring. Like, I can go into the South VC and figure it out, but... Yeah, through playstyle alone, I think I should be able to determine at least roughly who it is. More blocks are going down, some rocket fuel going down for the South as well. The South are ploughing on towards a rocket, and some defences are going down too, although they are being chewed on. Now at 38% threat, compared to the 16 of the North, and at minus 4,000, the South are in a much more kind of precarious environment right now. They need to be hot on their defense. They're doing well by kiting the bugs in this small area, but once the bugs get to 50%, they jump to bigs, and big bugs are very difficult to deal with if it's just poison capsules alone. You know, you need to kite very efficiently, and I would argue that potentially killing off some of these bases and these spawners in these kind of peninsular areas gives you a flatter way of defending. So yeah, they're doing a good job here, the Cobra, and again, circling around, making sure the bugs stay inside this poison cloud as long as possible, means they die off quicker, which means you can get back to farming more of them as fast as you can. And again, we talked about this earlier on, a nice beefy defensive base that it will create enough defensive items to last you the rest of the game. And again, they tacked on some laser outposts too. I like this. I really like this. In fact, let's look at production stats real quick. At 58 minutes, not long from now, made their first laser, and they've made 160 of them as well. So the South are positioning themselves to not only build up rocket fuel. Okay, so all of this started to come online. So they're making the most of these mini smelters, which I really like. Very compact builds, feeding even smaller builds, creating late game items such as blue chips. Purple Science is now on the cards as well. In fact, let's take a look back on that production tab, because I missed out on that one particular science. So let's take this number by number. North and South. The North and South, red was about the same timing. The South were ahead on green. They were behind by about 10-15 minutes on mill. Around about the same, 3-minute discrepancy in blue. And then their purple science is basically bang on, with the North being slightly ahead in timing, so they've made a bit more. Do you know what, Scoffy? That's actually a really interesting take. I think you could potentially do that. I've never seen it done. You also, no, you won't be able to because there is a buffer build zone. So if you take a look here in this, in my particularly specific MS Paint drawing tools, when we have bugs within a certain distance, you can only build your infrastructure around like certain zones. So let's say, for instance, in this zone back here, you have obviously your bugs. There's a certain distance that you can stick your defensive builds, so that you can't necessarily have them close enough to buildings to be able to hit them. However, what you could do, and I've never seen this done before, but like when you've got like medium bugs, so let's say for instance this is a pack of bugs, it would be very interesting to see if you could code into a logic network your lasers to hit the largest bugs first. Imagine coding your lasers to hit like behemoths instead of mediums, or bosses instead of behemoths. Oh, that'd be an interesting. I'm not entirely sure. We would have to test it. I like the way you're thinking on that though, because it's something that we could potentially make happen. You could, yeah, you could do it. But I think that you need to find the best space and place for it. But I like where we're thinking on this. I do. I like the direction we're going with this thought. I think what we need to do is get into a game of biter battles and actually just throw down a build. Because you could always build a block out here, you know, like a block out in the distance, and then try and drag things towards it and see if you could have like, well, you know, for instance, let's just say this is a line of lasers. It's obviously not, but this is a line of lasers. Like the front line takes the highest HP creep in the stats, so they take your behemoths and your bigs, and then the further back you go, they hit the weaker bugs as priority. I don't know. I don't mind it. I actually don't mind it at all. Okay, nothing out to the east. So most of our kind of focus should now be on the center part of the map, because we're looking at signs really flying in at the moment. So a space age with lasers with filters for different. Yeah. That's what I mean. You could kind of, and that would be an interesting meta in its own right, because let's say you have a block of lasers. Damn, do I do this? Give me a second. I'm gonna let me follow somebody real quick, and I'm gonna draw up a very technical drawing real quick. So we're gonna follow Coffee Owl whilst I'm in MS Paint, and I'll drag this over to the other side of the screen. But I had my idea, and let me just kind of throw this out to the group and see what we think about this particular idea. So let's just use yellow as an example, and then inside of that yellow box we are going to have a ton of little red. No, let's not do that. Let's do this. So, okay, there we go. There, now we're cooking with gas. Here we go. You know what? If I ever need a job, boys, I think my arts and crafts might be the one. You know, impromptu MS Paint design midstream. I mean, do you know many streamers that do MS Paint in the middle of their stream? There's probably a reason why they don't. There's almost certainly a reason why nobody else does this. But here we are doing it anyway. So let's take this. Perfect. All right, let's just bear with me, guys. I have a plan, and I think it's a good plan. Although this hasn't worked as well as I wanted it to. So that will do. That is enough for me. So let's say, for instance, we have a pack of bugs. All right. Let's say, for instance, we have a pack of bugs running down the side of this laser block that we have. The yellow indicates a wall, the red squares are individual lasers. What we could have potentially is is kind of demarcate certain lasers going off at certain times for certain bugs. So let's say this, every third laser in the block hits a high HP boss. Every second laser in the block hits something completely different. And then you effectively could time. Oh, and you could mess it with power as well. Oh, you could grid it. Okay. No. This needs to be tested. This could be a meta. I'm not going to go into too much detail about my thought process. I think I've just had a eureka moment there, guys. It's credit to you guys for mentioning this. And I will, if it works, I will absolutely name this after one of you. So whoever mentioned it first, Scoffy, it might be yourselves. It might, do you know, I might nickname this build. We need to test it. Sorry, I'm not explaining myself particularly well here because my brain is rushing with ideas. I think this is a doable thing. I genuinely think we've hit on something now. Let's get back to the game. Park that idea. Laser block. Laser block. That's what we're going to call it for now. Project Laser Block. And we will test this. I want to test this. The South have now evolved into the third evolution of the bug. Sorry, second evolutionary stage of the bugs in Bigs. These are these blue-shelled bugs, and at 54%, it takes more than just a single poison capsule to hit them. As you can see now, the wall being very close to the main base area of the bugs, they're attacking and aggressing onto the wall. I would absolutely try and kill off some of these bases to stop them from spawning and then just running at the wall. Now, poison capsules will kill the big bugs. However, you need to kind of twin them with slowdown capsules as well. So you want to scoop up as many of these bugs as possible, get them into a cloud of bugs, into a kind of a scooped area or grouped up area of bugs, and throw down that poison and slowdown capsule to kind of kill off as many of them as possible. So Coffee Owl's doing a really good job here. He is magnetically grabbing and dragging as much of their focus as he can behind his car. And, oh damn, somebody got banned. Oof. Okay, fair enough. So yeah, doing a really good job here threat farming. They're still in the negative as they are to their northern compatriots. However, the northern compatriots are only dealing with 16% bugs. What I'm very, very curious about now is how close are we to a rocket? So we have some yellow signs here that looks to be in production, but has yet to be produced. And if that is the case, so the North got their yellow at 1 hour and 7 minutes in. So both teams are very close to each other in terms of production. I've kept my eyes on the South purely because of the threat, but we can't be far off research too either, right? So surely the silo's got to... Yeah, here we go. The silo is on the South's chopping block in terms of research. The North, not so much just yet. And they're looking at bot research as well. That's interesting. Why are we... Bots don't exist on the South, do they? Have I missed something? Maybe I have. Let me just close down something real quick. Just quit out of Discord, save the frames. There we go, sorry about that. Slight delay. I don't know why, but the server is absolutely slowed down to a crawl now. Has there been a send that I just didn't foresee? Is the server frying? Oh, it's just catching up to itself, I guess. Oh, there we go, it's balanced now, it's balanced. We're cruising into the mid-game. In fact, we're cruising into the end-game, sorry. The mid-game's kind of been surpassed. Now we have some labs with all the science, and it's been prodded. We have the silo being researched on the South in time. And beyond that, like, we should hopefully, you know, down the line, start prepping this silo area. As we can see here now, Joshua's doing the beginnings of this, with the ability to have our late game items filter into our silo, and beyond that, it being kind of beaconed up as well. So this is the beginning of what you call the end game, but we're not at the end of the game just yet. And again, yeah, I don't know what happened just then, but the server felt like it really slowed down. Okay, some of the... Okay, I like this now. We are beaconing up some science, which is really, really efficient. Really efficient. We do have some blue chips getting made. How buffered are we on the blue chips? About 601 box and 100 LDS. We're going to need a lot more of that if we're going to be building a rocket, but at the moment we're not miles away from building a rocket. Probably about 20 odd minutes before that starts. Beyond that, do we have any expansion, or is this going to be it? Laser production down here. There was one particular base I wasn't entirely sure about what was going on. This is Ragnarok, isn't it? It's Rag. It's Ragnarok. 100% this is Rag. I've seen that build before. And I've seen a base that looks like this before. I'm so 60-ish% sure it's Ragnarok. Okay, yeah, we'll check on that. We'll see. We'll do some digging, some sleuthing. Oh man, people getting kicked off of teams. Okay. Well, we still have 21 on the north, 21 on south. The game is slowly but surely teetering on the end game, late game. Here on the north, we do have a large amount of LDS and blue chips and prod ones being created and stashed into boxes. Do we have any production throughput issues? I mean, copper, yeah. In fact, no, just copper. We have some copper throughput issues, massively so. That's interesting. So this is basically just not really fully functioning. Tech Priest, welcome in, mate. They are chads, I'm not going to lie. I mean, they have to deal with a lot of pressure here. So yeah, I mean, it looks to me like, Clyde, that we do have some walls going down. Like, some outer defenses are being worked on, but I get the feeling that, I mean, if I was the south, I would look at creating like laser blocks. Small like pods of lasers. And then just kind of filtering the bugs in towards there. Like, they're doing well here with the car and the car threat farming. And again, hovering around 7,000 at 54%, like, it's pretty solid. I like what I'm seeing from the south threat farming for sure. I think what I would be worried about is, you know, I don't know if this wall is like the play right now. If it was going to be the play, it needs to be a lot wider, a lot thicker, and a lot kind of better placed than it is. Like, I wouldn't necessarily assume this base into our defensive setup. Great word, by the way, assume, and apologies if I got it wrong. I think that's the correct way. It's like when you absorb one base into another, or absorb one thing to another, to assume one thing. Unlike consuming, which to the pizza later on I'll be doing viciously, a threat farmer goes down on the south, and again, you know, once a car goes down, if you lose your vehicle, then, you know, you're at the mercy of these bugs, and, you know, the big ones especially, they will run you down. You know, we can see here now, look at the bodies that we have on the southern threat farmers. You know, they are dropping, and they're bouncing back up. You know, they are yo-yoing from being alive and then back to main base again. So this is how you deal with a group of bugs. You group them up, you sit them in a poison cloud, and at 54% they're manageable. But once they start to hit the 60, 70, 80% bug like strength or evolution, 90 even, yeah, the south are going to struggle. I worry or wonder how far away we are of seeing them get their rocket production off the ground. It's, yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, dude. But the one thing that we don't see a lot of, and which is interesting because we have bots on this side of the pitch, right? We have robots here. I wonder if Not a Smurf is going to take an individual roboport and just start slamming down these smelting columns. Like, this is old school. The reason why I think this is Rag, or somebody of Rag's nature, is because this is an older meta way of playing the game. And I believe this has gone out of favor compared to deeper other ways of playing the end game. I feel like I talked about this yesterday, and I talked about it in a really wanky way, but there's like a postmodernist way of playing the end game. If this is kind of the modernist way of playing, so this is like 2 metas ago, the postmodern way is to break up these smelting stacks into other kind of deliberate smelting into production. So for instance, we can see a version of that in a base like this, where we have partitioned smelting off into partitioned item building. And I guess like the post-modern version of doing that could be arguably this, where not only do we have partitioned elements, but we have separate base entities entirely that have 1 or 2 particular focuses that then feed and funnel your later game builds. I want to talk more at length on that in the final itself, because I believe we're going to see 2 very different versions of the game, strategies of playing the game and winning the game in the final. But just know that the older way of playing the game is having these level of smelting columns: raw items in, medium items produced, and down the line late game items pump out. That then changed about 1 meta ago, if you want to talk about that, 1 iteration away, where we had something like this, for instance, where we're smelting everything down in large smelting blocks. They then pump themselves into what would normally be tacked onto the back of these with a bit of space and kind of filtration. We can add these bits in, and then you have your late game items being made. Now, what we're seeing completely separate to that is a compartmentalization of that meta. So ore goes in, items are made, and then they themselves are funneled into a base which then carries the legacy on, which spreads your build out massively. Now again, through the spread you're more vulnerable, and you're more vulnerable to bugs attacking you and causing problems for you, but you're also kind of compartmentalizing and spreading the problem out, meaning that you can have more people work on a solution rather than having a base individually responsible for an endgame build that could be detrimental. You know, if your outposters somehow can't make it to the end of the game, if their connection doesn't allow them to make it to the end of the game, or for whatever reason they lose interest or become disheartened, that one base going down, it just loses you the game. So I like the idea that we're spreading ourselves out. One setup of people are doing the smelting, and then we're passing on that responsibility, that burden of production onto another base that will do chips. That chip production is then funneled onto the next level of responsibility, which is sat here in main base. Here we go, which is our blue chip production. All of this feeds, funnels, and fuels our rocket. I like where the North are. I like what I see. I'm not entirely sure that the North are going to, like, you know, smash this. This isn't like a GG. I think the North have won. I like, again, where the South are. Timing-wise, both teams hit the same kind of timing in terms of signs. The North, I don't know, though. The North are 10 minutes ahead of their yellow. And they've overproduced yellow as well, I believe. I think they've made more than enough yellow at the moment to get through the research they need. I might be wrong. If they keep going at this rate, they certainly will overproduce within the next, I guess, 10-15 minutes. Again, the big one that we're looking for here, the big one, is that white science. You know, once we see rockets starting to go up and down, that is when the end of the game surely is at hand. And that really will test whether or not a team has built defenses or not. At the moment, the North aren't prioritizing any kind of defensive effort. Meanwhile, again, we've seen this often, the South are starting to go down because the bugs are very aggressive and very hard to kill. And even here now in a poison cloud, see this big guy here on his own? He's slowly dying to that poison cloud. It's not quick. And he lives. I mean, he just literally walked through this thing. You know, these guys, they're harder to kill now. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. So how many rockets will it take from south to oh, interesting, to even it up? Okay, so we have a calculator. Let's do some calculations. So the North are at 17. So for us to jump about 40 points, this might be overkill. Okay, so 500 purple is overkill. Let's dial it back a wee bit to like 380 purple. 420. Arbitrary number, obviously. 420. Somewhere around the 400 to 500 purple mark, which for yellow should be about the 280. No, because I didn't reset it. So at 280 from here. Actually, yeah, 280 yellow signs from the south to the north will put the north in the same position. So yeah, not a lot of yellow can go across to change the game state. And again, it would really impact them. You know, they are having a time of their life right now. Just, you know, minus 17% bugs and minus 7,000. You know, that yellow going across could be a bit of an issue for them if anybody is actually making it to send. You know, I'd love an outpost to do that, but it appears to me like we just have these late game outposts ready to go, ready to be plugged into the matrix. We talked earlier on about power being a problem purely because the uranium ore was miles away, and it doesn't seem like either team are looking to get a nuclear buildup anytime soon. With that being said, when these lasers eventually do have to go off, there isn't going to be enough power to make sure all of them go. So what worries me, and it's nice to see these huge power blocks go down, right? This is great. You know, obviously, once they're fueled and ready to go, this is amazing. And this too, you know, nothing wrong with this at all. But when you have behemoth bugs and lines of lasers looking like this, it's really going to strain your power network. And I worry that it's not going to take much to overload the network and down it. So once you start going into that red bouncy power, and again, remember, like once the lasers are shooting, this base is still going to be on. You know, all of this stuff will still be making stuff. It still require power and have a draw of power onto it. So, yeah, I think the South may struggle. The same way the North will too, if they need to rely on it. Will they need to rely on it? I guess we'll see. I think that whoever does get the aggression, the hard aggression, you know, those rockets going up and down and being sent over to you, whoever gets that hit sent to them first, I think ultimately loses the game. Unless there is some heroic defense about to happen in front of us, some gallant defense about to appear from either side. I don't know, though. I don't know how far you can take that defensive effort if you're faced with 100% bugs or 200% bugs. And then begs the question from here, and let's do some maths now. Let's do some precursory maths. I know that Sunday is the perfect time for maths. If I'm on the south and I receive 1,000 white signs, the north have made a rocket and they send it to me. We're on for behemoths easily with one rocket. That's enough to cause a problem. Meanwhile, if I'm on the north, the south have made a rocket and they send straight away. We end up at, a rocket. One rocket gets either side the behemoths. That's frightening. Did I do that right? Am I sure about that? Did I flick this over correctly? 1,000 to the south? Not 10,000. No, it does. It just does. It does. Not a lot of explanation needed. Whoever builds the first rocket will lock in the rocket lock-in. Oh, I need to use that more often. I might save that for the final. Welcome everybody to the rocket lock-in. It's Sunday afternoon. I hope you're having a good time. The moment we see one of these little metal fiery boys fire itself into the sky, the game is on. Either side with 1,000 white signs sat in their pockets, burning a hole, send across to the other side will increase the size, scale, scope, threat to a behemoth level for either the north or the south, locking in through their rocket lock-in the ability to win the game. Behemoths are too aggressive, too great in number, too large in scale and aggression to ignore for any long period of time, and again will threaten the entirety of your opposition's map side. The rocket lock-in is real, and you only need one to make a difference. Now, whether or not you create one and send one is a separate issue entirely, but if I'm sat down on either the south or the north, and I've done the maths like we have here right now, like the geniuses that we are, we know that all it takes is for one to shake the map up. Again, send 5, 10, 20 if you can, but one early is enough, I think. But it's about who gets there first, you know? And yeah, that's quite I didn't think we'd be here at this point in the game talking about a single rocket making a difference. Normally on the game mode that we have in front of us, piece of cake, arguably 4, 5 or 6 rockets really change the scope of the game, the scale of the game. But one is enough. Let's take a look at research real quick. Let's see where we are research-wise. Okay, so the south will lock their silo in first, their research silo. Silo research, sorry, if I can get my words out. The north aren't far behind. Well, they're about 50% in terms of completion behind. I'm just going to hold off here for a second and just watch the research tick in. So at 33% for the north, 84 for the south. Are the north slightly quicker with theirs? Not really. So they're behind by about 50%. Yeah, they're not researching faster. It's moving around about the same speed. So the north are slightly behind in terms of rocket silo research, but in terms of parts, maybe they have a slight advantage in terms of how much stuff they have. Decent blue chips, a decent amount of LDS, and they are feeding their silo early as well. So they're actually on the table. They haven't. Interesting. Okay. Very, very interesting. So the north are feeding their silo enough stuff to make a rocket. However, they don't have the satellite research, so they can't send their rocket into space. But they have their prod 3s, they have all of their beacons ready, and they have enough stuff to make it. They just can't send it into space right now. Meanwhile, on the south, they have their research created, although they do not have their prod 3s. So they're behind in the sense that you need 4 prod 3s to go into your silo, and then you feed your silo with all of the relevant blue chips, which they do have, or the LDS, which they do have. Not a ton of, but enough to make a rocket. And the rocket fuel, obviously, which they have a ton of too. So the only difference the north and the south really do have between them is the south silo is not beaconed, the north silo is. The south silo can create a satellite, the north silo cannot. And if the north had a satellite right now to go into this rocket, it could be in the sky in seconds, and then the rocket lock-in could begin. In terms of that 1,000 white signs going over to south, pushing them to behemoths, potentially giving them a winning advantage. So research really now And we're doing mining productivity? What? Are we having a laugh? Lads, you have won the... What? Somebody really just jiggled that around so they could have some random mining outpost. That's terrible, boys. Okay, so we're at 55%. We could have been at 65 or 75% had we not done this, but I guess this was really important for right now. As the rocket sits in the silo on the north, it just needs a satellite to go in. Once it gets launched, the north have won the aggression battle on the south for now, because the south would again, potential here. At 90%, they are quite far behind. Now they have some beacons down, and they're creating the beginnings of their Prod 3s, although one is yet to be made. You need 4 of them. So the south are ready to go, and when they turn their stuff on, they will absolutely smash the rockets out. But, I mean, guys, just get this done. Get it done yesterday. Get it done 20 minutes ago. And you've got it. You've got it in the bag, surely. That could be true, Czech Priest. In fact, you know, I should have really just scanned over. I was quite easy to throw some shade out without looking at the solution to the problem, but it would be an odd one if they didn't have enough. Although maybe they wanted to back it up so that it could just fire itself through. But I like the ending. I like the way this is ending, because it seems to me like we're going to have a bit of a photo finish. Both sides, if they can get it up, will get rockets flying into the sky around about the same time, give or take about a minute or two discrepancy between the north or the south. From there, they'll probably both send to get both sides to 90%. And then where we go from there is an absolute clown fiesta. I have no idea where we go from there. You know, we should now be closing in on that silo research finishing, right? So we should have our first satellite going into the rocket. And around about the 1 hour and 30 minute mark for a rocket, it's pretty solid. You know, I'd say it's on the faster side. With the amount of people on north as well as south, like that's a good timing. And here we go. The satellite can be built on the south. They are able to, and we're only at 19 out of 100, 21 out of 100. We're getting there though. We're getting there. It's not fully beaconed yet, but they can stick beacons down. This is a really tight race. This is a lot tighter than I kind of thought it would be. Have we finished this research at all? No, we haven't. Recipe not researched. Is this going to be the thing that defines the game? A singular satellite at the 1 hour and 30 minute mark? One has a rocket and no satellite. One has a satellite and no rocket. Both are on the cusp of winning, and also coincidentally on the cusp of losing. You know, behemoth bugs aren't a win in its own right, but having not prioritized defense on either side, behemoths on either side are a problem for whichever side receive the behemoths. I'm worried, dude. This genuinely could come down to like a 30-second change of pace in window, like a 30-second gap. And that mining research, I shit you not, boys, why did we do it? 92%, 8% to go, 7% to go. The South locked in their satellite 3 minutes ago. At the 1 hour and 27 minutes and 5 second mark, the South had this research ahead of us in the North. And we are now 3 minutes later, and we still don't have it. And we have everything ready to go. We are primed and ready to go. Meanwhile, the South rocket arises from the silo. I'm almost certain the satellite will be fed to it, and here it is. It fires itself up. The South have overtaken the North. And the research has just come in from the North as well. So not only are the South launching their first rocket, we should see, as I scan over to the North now, potentially another one fire up. Have they made it? Are they producing? Item ingredient shortage? How? No, guys, you had 4 or 5 minutes downtime. This should be firing up right now. There's no way. They're going to have a second rocket before you know it. And they send straight away. That's brutal. They still haven't made their... Oh, no. It's only just now working. It's going to be a matter of seconds. 40 or 50 seconds difference. And they were just slightly slow on some components. Like literally some components, not even a lot, just a few minor components. It's not GG, but the North have a lot of work to do now. Their rocket flies up into the sky and they'll be returned back with 1,000 signs. A second rocket has already come back down for the South. And again, I'm not sure if they're going to continue to send now. I don't know if they're going to keep... Yeah, I don't know if they keep going with this or if they save, but we're on for an interesting game here now. The North at 91%, by the way, and there we go. Who's Big Bicycle Boy, by the way? Like, probably a Smurf, I'm almost certain. But yeah, both teams run 90%. As the South get their second rocket in the sky, the North have a rocket in the silo, and they have an item ingredient shortage again on there. What a wounder, what an absolute wounder. Let's look at the aggression on the map because there is a ton of it. At the moment, the threat is 31,000, 91% strength bugs. At the moment, both teams are going to struggle to defend, but the North have no defenses. Bugs are getting close to production. And we have... Okay, stinky bugs. Excellent. Thank you for the input there. Remember, guys, blueprints do slow down the server, so just don't do that. Anyway, yeah, the North are struggling. Alpha geometry goes down. You can imagine there'll be elements and segments of the base that will eventually be kind of bumped into by the bugs. For instance, over here, it really is now about who can defend better and harder. Both sides will receive aggression, however, the North have it first. And again, the sends keep coming. The rockets keep flying. Like, this is now just an absolute shootout. It's a full-on shootout. There is absolute unsustainable development on both sides. One team will crumble. I think this is who loses first. Who loses slowest. So I don't think this is a game of one team being particularly in the lead. I think it's about who can just slow down their loss. So if you're going to lose part of your base, just make sure the bugs crash into stuff you can afford to lose. Not that you can afford to lose anything, but like, yeah, this is rough. And again, the bugs are going to start appearing in areas where you don't necessarily want the here we go, like here. You don't want this. Nobody wants this. Well, no, the South want this for the North. But yeah, they're going to start crashing into areas of the base where you just can't afford them to. And the same will happen on the South as well. But I believe the North will be dealing with their first amount of aggression, the initial aggression first, sorry. And then the Souths will rise. So yeah, 106 on North, 109 on South. Both teams are dealing with very, very strong bugs at the moment. The bugs strong enough to kill your game off. Carl going in for a big send now, just sweeping the lines, going, let's just try and end this before we get ended ourselves. And yeah, Coffee Owl doing a good job doing some threat farming here, just bouncing around the bugs with their car, making sure that the behemoths sit inside the poison capsules and tick down to the poison damage. I'd love to see if the lasers fire, and if they do, how much power it takes. At the moment, we're on green power, by the way, guys, so I'll check in on this, but... Okay, no bouncing power there. I'm going to turn off chat for now, guys, because I want to be able to kind of check in on power. I know that people on YouTube did mention that they didn't see this little box on the top right, so just for now, I just want to make sure that we are able to check in on those stats. The North are... Nope. I'm turning chat back on. Don't worry about the power, guys. That's not going to be the defining factor of this game. This is exactly what they are, billions. Yeah. And you know what? It's so hard to defend this. Without any physical defenses, without a wall or anything like that to run these bugs into, there are so many of them that eventually they will proliferate in. They will make a path into your base somehow. You know, they are like water. When it enters a teapot, it becomes a teapot. Yeah. Be like water, my friend. What a great quote, by the way. How insightful was somebody like Bruce Lee? I feel like if he was a modern day influencer, you'd hope that he wouldn't be one of those toxic, bro influencers. Not that he would, and not that he'd even know what that would be about, but I wonder if Bruce Lee, not Jet Li, if Bruce Lee was around nowadays, you kind of wonder what kind of a personality he'd have in the modern kind of digital space. That's just a side thought, sorry. I just like the quote that I threw out there for a second of his, that he gave during an interview on TV. I forget the entirety of the quote, but it's fantastic. Yeah, the North are struggling. Let's take a look at the South. If I can just struggle my... Oh, okay. It is not all one-way traffic, and power is bouncing. All right, chat comes off for a second as we check in on power right now on the south. The wall has been breached, and just briefly, power started. Oh, damn. Oh, hell no. Oh my god. Okay, so the south are struggling massively. I'm going to struggle to see both sides of the map. One thing I will ask, guys, is if either side are about to lose, can you just ping in the map really quick? If you're spectator... Oh, look at that. Yeah, they're planning on this. They're planning on it, on absolute devastation. Both sides are just walling up their base. This is literally whoever can survive the longest. This is not about thriving in chaos. This is about wearing the damage as little as you can. And luckily the south have got lasers. I don't know how effective these lasers are in particular. The power seems to be fine for now though, but they've lost a lot of their front line. However, you could argue they have a front line. Meanwhile, on the north, their front line is their production. You know, you will lose this factory, you know, over time. The bugs will come for this. And they're managing to make it kind of deep. Deeper than you'd like. You know, this isn't GG. They're not too far in, but, you know, I worry that there'll be like a block over here, for instance. There's like some power blocks and stuff. Like, if you don't catch the waves enough, and this is a great job, by the way. Zero Sun's doing a fantastic job here. I cannot understate how much threat this is. This is game-ending threat. If you don't kite this wave and you let it go, and let it like release it into the wild, so to speak, that will devastate your map. So Zero Sun, as an individual player here, has multiple waves of terrifyingly large bugs, and they're just juggling them as best they can. You know, one misinput here, one mistake from Zero Sun, their car crashes, they die, these bugs just release themselves onto the map, and it is game. I promise you that, it is game. As one individual group here with some bosses attached to it will just tear through this particular base. That wave Zero Sun has, as well as the wave that, for instance, Nira has here, will just devastate the map. And let's take a look on south. Is there anything going deep? The bugs are... I mean, they've had their way with this defense, but they haven't crumbled it. They haven't collapsed it entirely. Meanwhile, when you talk about collapse, this is it, isn't it? I just don't know if there's a rebuttal to this. I don't know if there's an answer or a response to this for the north. And again, apologies for the low frame rate. This is just natural. Like, we're in a rocket battle at the moment, so the server is spawning in thousands, if not tens of thousands of entities. And yeah, we just take a hit from the UPS a little bit. Can we... I'll ask for a drop in game speed. It's game either way. I believe, regardless of whether you can fully play this out or not, I think the North are just going to slightly succumb to this. But you should have the opportunity to defend. You know, you shouldn't get lagged out to the point where you can't play the end of the game, but this is brutal, and it's kind of grim. And I do wish there was a way that we could undo this. Alright, there we go, 0.7, that's perfect. When I was an admin back in my day, we go to about 0.5. On a rocket's end, 0.5 is good for the opening 5 or 10 minutes in game, obviously, whilst everything spawns in. Everything slows down for a little bit, but then you can pick the speed back up as everything stabilizes. Even now at 0.7, I think the server is still struggling, I'm going to be honest with you. And people are lagging out. However, a defensive effort is being made. There we go. There we get some bounce back. Perfect, boys. Yeah, so what do we think, boys? What do we think? Boys and girls, people of the internet, don't mean to be rude. That's a lot of bugs. That's a lot of damage. The North just, I think their goose is cooked. I believe their base is going to slowly succumb to the ever increasing pressure that is just piling itself onto their base right now. The bugs are in, they're on. Smelting is going to get smashed. Mining is about to become an implosion of devastation. You know, absolute wreckage is about to happen in this area, and beyond that too. If this wave isn't the one that does it, there'll be at least 4 or 5 behind it. So I just wonder how far this can go, how deep they can defend. Main base is getting chewed to pieces first. It's just a formality from the bugs to do this, really. They could make a beeline straight for the silo, but just to add insult to injury, they're just going to tear up all the stuff you had at the beginning of the game, all the stuff you relied on throughout the entirety of the game. You're just going to, you know, lose it. And how devastating is this? As a rocket slowly appears in the silo of the north, the bugs, mere meters away, within eyesight of the silo as a rocket flies into the sky. Let's see if I can get this all in one shot. That's just not the picture you want to see. That's horrendous. No, that's just... There's tragedy in comedy, and there's comedy in tragedy, and I feel like this is the epitome of both of those things. You can have a 1.5 hour input of hard-earned effort and hard-played game, and just have it all go up in smoke around you. The South, by the way, are inflicted with some pain, but they're managing to defend relatively well. Even a small wall is keeping them alive with their defenders threat farming around it. The defensive elements here, like the laser towers, are doing a good enough job. So I can't really look too heavily onto the South because of that. The North are closing in on defeat, so I wouldn't argue... sorry, it'd be rough to argue that it's not going to be more than a couple of minutes before we get to... Yeah, the silo's like, take me with you. Now, a defense can be made. You know, they could force a defensive effort here, but you know, it's just inevitable. The bugs will come. The silo is under threat, and there's not a huge amount we can really do as a team, other than kind of distract the bugs a little bit. But even then, as you can see now, a single glob of acid, a single spit, just takes out multiple buildings, multiple bits and pieces. And here we go. The silo is under threat now. A single individual boss spitter is just devastating all the things around the silo first. The beacons are gone. The lasers are trying their hardest, but they have not much to do. The silo is now dipping into yellow health. There's no human players around to really help or stop this from happening. They're just succumbing to the weight and the strength of the bugs. The behemoths have won, as they always do. I've yet to see a game where the humans have prevailed and the bugs have failed. You know, they always claim their land back, and here we go. The silo's at red. It's produced a grand total of 4 rockets, which is a decent amount for a 1 hour and 41 minute game. You know, that's the beginnings of a really strong play, but the South have just managed to take it this game. They've managed to take it this time, and that's game. 133% evolution for the North, 139 for the South. I think a very strong game. A very strong game, all things considered. GG, well played to everybody all round. What was the difference? What was the defining factor here? Let's try and just... Maybe scale. It could have just been scale, right? Blitzy's always on the winning team. It is rigged. We need to do an investigation into how Blitzy ends up on the winning team every time. I think I need to dig into the aggregate on this one. I couldn't tell you exactly where, other than like minor tweaks and twists in research. It's difficult to really fully understand and bridge the gap. I think this definitely slowed down the bugs. You know, the South are dealing with a slightly stronger behemoth, but they have stuff in the way. You know, and this definitely kind of focuses the bugs into... And again, you don't want to lose lasers, but there is a winning side here. And although this looks like a loss, this side won. This side of the map, this is obviously devastating, and you don't want to lose lasers at all. But these guys ended up with a W, so it was kind of worth it. Sacrificial defense, whereas here, the only thing you're giving the bugs is open space to run in, right? I'm telling you now, boys. I'm saying it right now. These little things are called walls. They're very useful. At the moment, they're not used that often, but I'm telling you now, they are the most efficient way of keeping these guys back. This big boss guy has to get through all these walls before he can touch any production. He'll do it quickly, but it's better him get through this and you have 20 seconds to kind of get to him and defend than he just chews through your production line. And as we saw down here, you know, once they hit the stuff they want to kill, like if we just let these guys go now, this stuff would be gone in seconds.